No Shame November. I don't really know what it means to me. I'm not one that's big on shame. Unfortunately, I'm probably a person who shames people more than I get shamed, which I can't say that I'm proud of. You know, trying to fix that.
I think we should do things because they're what's right, what we love, what we want, and what God calls us to do.
And not letting people base your worth off your appearance. That's what it means.
Having confidence in who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Kind of not letting others decide how you need to act or what you need to do.
No Shame November is actually an awesome thing. It's a way for us to say, you know what, I'm going to say what's on my mind, I'm going to say what I believe, I'm going to look the way I'm going to look, and I'm just going to be who I am. And I think it's a great starting point. I think No Shame November is a great starting point.
Shame is the underlying and pervasive belief that one is inadequate or unacceptable. So to me, shame is like something where I feel like I'm not good enough in some way because someone else made me feel that way, or I'm thinking about that myself because of something I did wrong.
I think shame is the culmination of all things opposite of what God wanted.
Shame is when people are just made to feel alone with the things that they might consider to be negative qualities about themselves.
Shame is being made to feel less by someone else and not feeling just by someone else's opinion of you and just feeling bad about something you maybe can't control.
Shame to me means that I can't be comfortable unless I'm doing what everyone else is doing. Well, I mean, I'm a woman, so obviously we're ashamed of a lot of things. The way we feel, the way we look, the way we act, like that's tough. But I mean, I don't disregard like what men are ashamed of. They're also ashamed of the way they feel, the way they look, the way they act.
A lot of shame, I think, comes from certain specific moments where something happens, like, and becomes a catalyst that defines who someone is for a long time, and they feel a lot of shame and underlying regret and remorse over those things.
I think one thing people are ashamed of a lot is not necessarily, I mean, there's a lot based on like body image and how well you do in school and athletics, but I think one thing a lot of people are ashamed of is maybe their personality, just how like they are in a natural, like feel like they have to change qualities about themselves for other people.
I think most people are ashamed of being wrong.
I think, definitely body image is huge. Whether it's, how your body is shaped, whether or not you can grow a beard, like what your hair looks like. Body image and self-image is just like a really big thing. If you watch a movie, most of the actors and actresses who are playing high schoolers are not high school age. They're like 27. So when you're in high school, you expect to look like you're 27. And when you don't, it's like earth-shattering.
A lot of it has to do with how I've been taught to perceive things. Like, I get really embarrassed about my laugh, or I get really embarrassed about how makeup looks on my skin. I get really embarrassed about grades in classes, if they're too high, if they're too low, if they're too average. I get embarrassed about what people will think if I become friends with someone that not many other people are friends with. I get embarrassed when I think about what do my teeth look like today, like should I have eaten that, or I get embarrassed when people look at my plate and they, I don't know, I like food, I like carbs, and
I think something I'm ashamed of is probably striving for perfection all the time, because I do base off how I feel off of other people judging me and stuff like that, so I always strive for perfection.
I read a magazine that said that you have to dress according to your body type, and that women with a bigger waist or bigger hips should wear kind of like bell-bottom style, you know, like boot cut, because it balances you out. So I never wore skinny jeans because I always felt like I didn't deserve to wear that item of clothing. And so I've been working on that. I wore a pair yesterday and it was really weird. It was actually, it seems so trivial, but it's a big step for people to overcome shame.
So my advice for someone who would be trying to overcome shame or who struggles with that is it's all based on where you find your identity. I think a lot of it has to do with finding your identity in Christ and not worrying about what other people think so much, because I think a lot of shame stems from your perception of other people's reactions to you. So I think if you're not worried so much about what other people think about you, and you're not you don't find your identity in any one worldly thing, but you find your identity in Christ, then you can definitely overcome shame in that, because it won't define you any longer. You can't say, well, I'm not good enough because I'm not good enough at any one of these things. God doesn't care if you're good enough in any one of these one things. He made you to be who you are, so He cares about who you are to Him, not what you're good at.
Man, it's just, you have to just live with it. It's such a, like, getting it out in the open. If you don't put yourself out there, if you don't let that shameful thing be seen or tell someone about it, it doesn't have to be to everyone. But if you're not telling a friend, a loved one, someone about this part of you that you feel shame for, then you're always going to feel shame for that.
It's all about surrounding yourself with people who are going to lift you up, people to encourage you. Don't get down on yourself when things get tough, because it happens to everybody, to everyone.
But, you know, God made you the way He made you for a reason, and He didn't make a mistake. So whether, you know, you're ashamed of how stubborn you are, or ashamed of how emotional you are, or even ashamed of like not being feeling enough, or whatever it is that, like, you know, like you're hiding, that you're ashamed of, that you're burying because you don't think that you will find love and acceptance, that's what we're trying to free, so that, you know, shame doesn't get to control your life anymore, and God is really the one that's like in charge of that and who you are.